Hello and welcome, this is DaCrazyCageMan introducing Insurgency. Now if you haven't seen Insurgency before, it's essentially what it would be like if you put Arma and Counter-Strike together. It's a hardcore indie first person shooter, and I mean hardcore. It's available on Steam for about £12 or $15 if you're in the US. Unlike Counter-Strike, it has a minimal heads-up display, awesome damage modifiers, aim down sights, leaning, and many more features. You may have also noticed that this game has aiming dead zone, and you may know what that is if you've played Arma. What aiming dead zone is, and you can see it here, is the ability to move your gun around before your screen actually moves. And as you'll see here in a sec, when I try to hip fire my enemy, even though he's in the middle of my screen, in a game like Counter-Strike that would be enough. But in this, you've actually got to aim the gun rather than the screen. What I do love about this game is that the developers were not lazy in regards to adding more attention to detail. As you may have noticed here, as I'm aimed down scope, you can see that only the scope itself zooms in, not the outside, so you can actually see your peripheral vision, which a lot of games do not do. You may have also noticed that I like to sit in this particular spot. From this side, I'm able to see right the way through to the enemies trying to get to this market area. And since it only takes 1 or 2 shots to kill in this game, it's just perfect for picking off the enemy team early. The best strategy for this game is to get in cover and stay in cover and wait for the enemy to come to you. This is particularly useful because unlike games like Battlefield, this doesn't have much ambient sounds or music or anything like that to distract you. You can actually hear the enemy very well when they're nearby. Because of this, it is a general rule that everybody walks around rather than runs around when there may be enemies around. Also, be sure to remember to try and count how many shots you fired, because you don't get to see how many rounds, as you can see there, how many rounds are left in a mag. So you could be coming around a corner and you never know if you may be out of rounds in that mag or not. However, when you reload, you do not actually throw the mags away. So if you think you may be low, just reload anyway and just put that mag to the bottom of the pile to use later on. Playing the objective is very important in this game, and it may be the factor between winning and losing. In Insurgency there are 6 game modes, but they all seem to run on the same elimination system, that once you are dead, you will have to then wait until your teammates capture the objective, or destroy the objective, before you can respawn again. Because of this, it's typically a good idea to just play it safe, to try and pick off the enemy one by one, so then you can try and outnumber them, and get the least amount of casualties on your team. Saying that, you are about to witness the most action-packed moment I've ever had, as both teams battle it out for the middle flag. So with that in mind, I'm going to cut the comms so you guys can watch. Maybe next time.
Nice, fast, guys.
Such an easy one.
Because this game is so heavily reliant on teamwork, you may want to move in a way that makes it harder for the enemy to engage you. Now, with that said, you generally want to push up with your team in a way that's really difficult for the enemy to engage you. A particular way you can do that is to do what's called leapfrogging, or you may also know it as bounding, and that's for you to take an overwatch position so your teammate can advance past you while being under your covering fire. This is a much more efficient way of moving and saves everybody running at the same time and all getting shot at. In Insurgency, there is a typical suppression effect that most games use now, and that's the blare, with also sway and more recoil. Obviously I won't get much recoil because I'm only using a semi-auto rifle. However, the sway is controllable, as you could see there when I shot that guy. I made myself a smaller target and returned fire. Many others may agree with me when I say that I wish Insurgency didn't follow the typical guidelines of the first-person shooters when it comes to suppression. I myself would prefer if they made it a more intense experience, inducing tunnel vision and make it seem like you guys squinting by creating blurred lines around the outside of the screen and maybe adding a little heart rate too, that should make it a more intensive experience and would hopefully increase the immersion and fear of the rounds that are cracking above your head. However, that is pretty much my only wish. Along with just adding a competitive game mode where maybe people could spectate clans battling each other. However, the developers have made so many improvements, especially since the mod when it was released, so I have no doubts that expectations will be met. Since this game's been in development for a decade, and that's clearly evident in their attention to detail. I just love how unique this game is, and across the 6 game modes, they've all been made so different. So the gameplay is so vast, and the possibilities are so high that you never know what could happen. Thank you for watching. Please let me know what you think of Insurgency, and I'll see you in the next chapter.